Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Lisa Girizzi.
And I'm Robbie McHugh. It's great to see folks out there for this kickoff event of the EMS Leadership Summit, our 4th annual event.
I can't believe it's finally here. We've been working on this for months and months and months, and it's so exciting to have this event where we have a number of our speakers who have joined us, and they're going to be just here to talk about their presentations and a little bit about themselves, so that we can kind of just bring everybody in and welcome everybody to this exciting kickoff event for the 4th annual EMS Leadership Summit.
And if you could hear us and the audio sounds good, type in the comments wherever you're listening from. We are streaming from LinkedIn Live. We're going through Facebook, the EMS Leadership Academy brands, the Fire Rescue TV network with over 110,000 followers, the High Performance EMS group with close to 70 or 80,000 folks, and being simulcast through Fire Rescue TV. We're at, I think we're live at about 400 fire and EMS stations around the country. So that's also pretty neat. So folks, if you can hear us okay in the comments, type where you're joining in from. We'd love to see that in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. We have participants from all over the world, and we also have speakers from around the world. I believe we're up to 6 different countries now that we have speakers from, so that's always exciting. There seems to be a lot of patterns and themes, no matter where people are participating. In the EMS world, pre-hospital care, there's a lot of themes, a lot of very important things that are happening, and that's what our presentations are really addressing: the challenges, the future of EMS, the inspiration, advocacy, and innovation. So those are the 3 themes that our presenters fall into. So before we go too much further, we really want to thank our sponsors. This is a free event, and one of the reasons we're able to do that, or the main reason we're able to do that, is because of our very, very generous sponsors. And as you see on the screen is our wonderful EMS exhibitor hall and for the summit. And Robbie and his team do such an amazing job on this every year. But our sponsors this year, we want to really shout out to Ninth Brain, a returning sponsor for us. We have Wayfield, FirstNet, AT&T, Camps, Newton 360, a new sponsor this year. And we have MetaCredits, Binderlift, who am I forgetting? Fire Rescue TV is our media sponsor, and Wealth Management. Wendy, our wonderful Wendy Lund, she'll be presenting tomorrow and joining us tomorrow at the live. Who am I forgetting?
Well, let's say formerly the IAFCCP, the ICAP organization. We have the ERSI, Emergency Responder Safety Institute. So you can find all of these at our virtual exhibitor hall at emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit.
And if you are registered for the event and you go to the first booth, you can sign up for, you can access it with your free pass. So you can get the day sessions, and there are 7 sessions scheduled for tomorrow. You can get access to all 7 of them at 8 a.m. Eastern time, and they will be available for 24 hours. And each day they will be released. And of course, the VIP all access pass, you get lifetime access. And plus all the bonuses and the potential for 15 CAPC approved credits. Why can't I think of the word? You never know. I speak for a living. All right. I know why, because I'm so excited that we have so many fabulous speakers with us today. And we're going to do our best to get to as many as we can. So why don't we bring in Ray and Chris.
All right. And here we go. Ray Bereshansky, Chris Cebollero, welcome.
I got to tell you, anytime I could share the screen with Ray Bereshansky, we know that's going to be a good day. So I'm excited to be here. I don't know if you wanted me to start talking first,
yeah,
but I was sitting in the green room and I'm like, when do I get a chance to talk about leadership? And oh my gosh, is this becoming the event of the year or what? Year 4. And we start to think about it. I was there for year 1, and we think about this growth. It's just incredible. And a free leadership event, over 40 speakers, international speakers are coming in. I mean, I want to tout Robbie and Lisa. Thank you so much. I can't imagine what goes into, scheduling this. Thank you, Ray. Was that for me? The golf clap for me? Oh, it was? Okay. But, kudos to you guys on doing this. But I'm just excited to be here to help the day before kickoff.
We love having you, Chris. We love that excitement, and thank you for the compliment. It has been an amazing journey over the last 4 years. Ray, it's nice. As my first time meeting you, I really want to thank you for being with us.
I appreciate being here. And I have to tell you, honestly, after everything I've heard and seen on social media, I'm actually really feeling badly that this is only my first year with you all. This promises to be an amazing event. I'm looking at the speaker lineup. It's exceptional. And I'm looking at the topics and realizing that I really need to stretch what I'm doing because I need to stay more relevant. These are some great topics. Yeah. And I know I'm speaking about public health and EMS. And I have to channel someone I heard a long time ago, Rich Serino, when he was the deputy FEMA administrator. And he once said, preparedness is about relationships. And when I heard him say that, everybody in the audience had your reaction and Chris's reaction. Everybody nodded their head. Yeah. It's so true. And yet we don't absorb that lesson. And so I'm hoping that my presentation about public health and EMS really helps people absorb that very basic lesson. And thank you for having me here.
We're honored and thrilled to have you. And, there's been a lot of chatter on social media about you being on the part of the lineup. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I mean, I think when you think about Ray's talking about the speakers, it's a murderer's row of EMS leaders. But one of the things that I've always talked about, and for everybody that's going to listen to Ray's discussion, I mean, he truly is the authority when it comes to, this topic. And I've said it for a long time. Do you want to know where your career can grow? When we think about leadership, when we think about being able to invest in ourselves, when we think about the ability to really take ourselves to the next level, we have people like Ray Barashansky, who's in our career field, who was a great paramedic. He's an awesome speaker. He's a lot taller in person, by the way, so don't let that worry you. He does have good height, so he's a great speaker that way. But he also brought his career to the pinnacle, what I think is something that is great for an EMS provider. Starting out as a paramedic, he worked his way up to becoming the Deputy Director of Health for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And when we think about what we can do as paramedics, he just didn't become a state EMS director. He became a Deputy Director of Health. I hope I'm getting that right, the Honorable Ray Barashansky. But, when we think about leadership, when we think about role models, when we think about, mentors, you really set the standards for others to follow. And to have you here on such a great event, when people are looking to grow their leadership skills, when people are looking to take themselves to the next level, and it's something that we don't invest in, we have people like you to look up to say, look where we can get to in our career.
So important. And so many people, talk about the lack of advancement available. And, and it just shows that there's plenty you can do in places to climb the ladder. So we want to bring a couple other people in. We have quite a crew with us today, talk about Murderer's Row. So let's bring in Duncan McConnell, who's joining us from down under. And let's bring in Bryony Gilby, who is just up to extraordinary things. And I want her to share that. So first, hi, Duncan. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Lisa. Hi, Robbie. It's good to be back again. Haven't been as many times as Chris. I've only done 3. I missed the first one. I was running around in the Badlands of Mongolia when the first one was on, so I couldn't join you for that one.
But you've been the comeback kid since then. So thank you so much for being with us. And we appreciate what you go through to join us for the kickoffs and the daily debriefs.
And certainly, Bryony, for you joining us as a journalist and your background and your, I know you shared with us that your children, went into EMS, which is how you heard of, some of these somewhat terrifying stories of what this industry really looks like. And you're using your journalistic skills and connections to create an incredible documentary, which we are premiering in our virtual exhibitor hall in booth 12. So people can watch that.
That's right. I also had the good fortune or bad fortune, I guess some might say, of living next to Dan Blum, who some of you may know, but he was the one that he got my children into EMS, and then was definitely the backbone of putting this documentary together in a responsible way. So I have to give a shout out to him for that.
Absolutely. So check out the Honorable But Broken EMS in Crisis documentary reel. We're going to be talking about it a lot this week, and it's in the virtual exhibitor hall. You can watch the preview, and you can also learn how to advocate right here, right now, and promote this crucial piece, this advocacy film. And Bryony, your session is going to be on day number 2. You're going to be first up with your co-producer, Rich.
That's right. Yeah. So we're so grateful for the, to have this opportunity to have the film and get some feedback and just be a part of this amazing opportunity. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you. We are honored to have you. And we were so moved when we saw what you were up to. We were like, all right, we got to get her.
We've had some really good response. So I feel like we're on the right track of, it's a complicated subject. As you probably know, it's a lot to take in, but we tried to stay true to what we were aiming to do. And I think we've done it, but we always welcome feedback. We've had people from all over the country and all over the world say how grateful they are that we're doing this. It's about time. So
yeah,
the more attention we get, the better.
And Duncan, you're speaking, I'm looking for your name on my calendar. I'm sorry. On Thursday, our Thursday. It won't be Thursday for you, but it'll be our Thursday. And you have a really great topic this year too. Anything you want to say about it before we pull some more speakers in it?
I'm not sure I need to, because I think Chris has already said enough. Highlighting what Ray's done. I mean, I sort of look at that round peg in a square hole. Like, you may not feel like you fit in that right spot, and you can always move and go around. And I had someone actually point out to me last night on a phone call, because it's my birthday today, and they said, look what you've done with your career. Thank you. Actually, it was yesterday, but I'm going to take again today because it's the 19th where you are now. So I'm going to have 2 birthdays if I'm allowed to.
2 days work. 2 days work.
Birthday week, really, when you think about it, or month, depending on your.
Should be, yeah.
It's David Daniels' birthday today too,
and
awesome. My wedding anniversary. So it's a very popular
congratulations.
Day.
But yeah, it really the sky is your limit now in the direction that healthcare is going. Doesn't matter where you look in the world. You can be where I am. You can be Europe. You can be the US. You can be Canada. If you've got the drive, then you can achieve some of the things that many people around this world have done. A shout out to a good friend of mine, Joe Acker. He started off in Canada. He's now the CEO of Ambulance Tasmania, the furthest state in Australia. The next stop below that is Antarctica. But he's now running one of the states in Australia as a CEO. I mean, if you'd asked him 20, 30 years ago where he'd be in this area of his career, there's no way he would have even given that a thought. So like I said, you can go anywhere in this profession, and it really is growing around the world today.
Yeah, Joe Acker was featured on the EMS Leadership Summit as well 2 years ago, and Leon Baranowski and a whole panel who are up to great things in Canada. And speaking of Canada, we have some great guests here.
Megan?
Actually, Megan. Welcome, Megan. Thanks for joining us. And we're going to bring in Texas, John Purrier. John, welcome.
Hello.
And we're going to bring in the No Coast, Mick Gunderson.
Welcome. Thanks for being with us. Megan, this is your first time here at the summit. We appreciate you having Wayfield as a new sponsor. So thank you so much. And what you're up to is so important. If you want to just I know Sherry's going to be doing a deeper dive into it. If you could just say a little bit about what you're up to up at Wayfield.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and I know Sherry's giving a talk on behalf of Wayfield, but I really appreciated being included and being able to be here. So Wayfield Mental Health Group up here, headquartered in Calgary, Alberta. We are a mental health company primarily, and we've been working on how do you actually take some of what we have come to understand that paramedics and others working in public safety roles may benefit from as they're starting their jobs and as they're into their career, from the perspective of developing, we like to call it proactive psychological protection skills. So we have a program called Before Operational Stress that we have just actually received Canadian government funding to provide to just over 104,000 Canadians. And
Wow.
Sherry's going to talk a bit about the program and some of the other innovations, and really the space of being able to learn what we have found in clinical practice, and then work with folks who can gather data and really delve into the science behind what we're doing to make sure that it actually is effective mental health literacy and education training. So we're just thrilled to be here. You know, we come significantly with the Canadian lens on, but I actually did all my graduate training and lived in the US for quite a period of time. So to me, this feels like old home week. So thank you much for having us.
And we just want to encourage folks to, Wayfound has a few grand prizes we're going to be, you can enter to win. So if you check out their booth at the emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit, and you click into their booth right down here, you can register for a grand prize drawing and some custom artwork for your EMS agency from the artist Danson and the coffee table book. Is that right, Megan?
You got it. Yeah. And
Okay.
Danson is this really incredible artist. He's based in Alberta, and he takes images of public safety personnel from various sectors, including paramedicine, and turns it into artwork. So we have that grand prize. We also have some free access to the Before Operational, the online version of the program. So folks can sign in and take a look. It's, currently developed for a Canadian audience, but we've been working with some various US friends and colleagues to develop some versions that we hope to bring into different states in the near future. So really excited to be here, and so excited that mental health and mental health training and talking about mental wellness is an important part of the conversation. So kudos to everyone for laying the groundwork for those conversations to be happening.
Do you want to bring Marcus in?
Sure.
John, welcome. It's nice to see you.
Joining us from Texas.
And Mick, we'll want to make sure everybody gets a chance here. John, your presentation's on communication, which is our love. We love talking about communication and leadership. So do you want to say something briefly about, what you're up to in that presentation?
Sure. Communication is very important for everybody. I mean, it's important in your personal relationships, especially in your professional relationships. And it really is just reviewing the basics of communication. And to be honest, number one, thank you very much for having me. This is my first year, and I have been so excited about this. It was like everything was trying to keep me from doing this, but God willing, I made sure that it happened. And I do want to thank you very much. And, but communication, I'm trying just to get down to the basics. And a relationship, when you think about it, it's all about good communication. If you don't have good communication, you don't have a good relationship. You don't have a good relationship because you don't have good communication. So looking at my spouse, let me tell you, we always kind of look at it with our mate that we're at. And it reminded me of going through this presentation of where I failed. It was really good to be able to look at this and try to help my own personal marriage, my relationship. And then also with other people, friends, coworkers, colleagues, help me, reminisce about, okay, I did this wrong. I know that, and I should have done this, but it now helps me move forward and know how to communicate with anybody. And the best word of advice that I learned myself again is that a marriage counselor told me one time, John, just because you think you're right doesn't mean that you really are. And boy, you talk about a cinder block hitting me on the head. And
what are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
That's the lady whose anniversary is today.
Yeah, I know, Chris. And she was like, John, I know that you feel that you're right. And I'm like, well, yeah, I am right. And then she told me that. And it stopped me in my tracks. I mean,
how much does that show up in our organization?
Say a word. But I talk about that.
Yeah, and how much does that just show up in our organizations? The miscommunication is huge. And I know Dr. Angelo Caravaggio, along with Heather Edward, we're going to bring them in here as well, have also been talking about this topic in the workplace, and how we communicate and how we build relationships with other people. So Heather, Angelo, welcome.
Hi.
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Oh, great. Yeah, I was really excited when after you recorded with Robbie, and he was talking about the language of leadership, which is something that's fascinating to me, and I think it's going to be a real important presentation, as all our speakers are. But that the possibility that there's a language to leadership, I think, really is a game changer.
Well, I mean, I hope so. I mean, that's what we built the presentation around. So I find that too many words have been misused and overused. And so their actual meaning have been lost. And we throw them around. And because we throw them around, they've lost their true meaning. And so that's what I try to sort out. And just as John there was talking about, one of the key aspects of communication that I talk about is the fact that, I mean, it goes beyond the words, because it starts with, what words you choose, when you choose to say them, the tone you use, why you used it, that tone, they all come into play. But then if you're in a leadership role, you're always communicating by what you say, what you do, when you do it, how you make your decisions, the criteria you use when you make your decisions, because you're now setting the model for the rest of the people in your organization or the rest of the people that are following you. And so we're always, when you're in a leadership role, you're always on stage and you're always communicating. I always like to tell the story of, I had one particular student that told me that whenever her boss came in wearing her red suit, everybody ducked and hid because they knew that she was in a bad mood. And so she was communicating just with the fact that she was wearing the red suit, and everybody just scattered, didn't talk to her, stayed away from her, and just avoided her for the entire day.
Yeah, talk about everything communicating in those circumstances. But I love the presentation that you and Heather Edward put together on the language of leadership. I've been a huge student of leadership for many years, and I had so many notes coming out of that presentation. And from your description of toxic leaders, ineffective leaders, and effective leadership, it was really, really fascinating. So I want to thank Heather for connecting us and bringing that language in. And I want to bring in Marcus Bush as well. And there we go. Marcus, welcome.
Can you hear us okay, Marcus?
I can. I just had to get unmuted. Good evening, morning. I think everybody's from all over the world. So
everybody from all over.
Marcus, you really talk about and dive into demonstrative leadership and how leadership looks like on the court of organizations. And again, that's what we just love about you and the presentation that you did last year for us and this year as well.
The fun part for me is I'm a fire guy, so it's good to hear all of the things that are going on. It hasn't been announced yet, but my new role last year, I was changing roles, and my new role this year, I'm going to a fire-based EMS service. So I'm so glad to make all my new EMS friends here. I'll probably message each one of you because I'll take over operations for fire and EMS. I'll have a battalion EMS chief assigned to me as well. So definitely want to get her connected to a greater group of folks so we can deliver even better service. But I'm excited, and someone Angelo just spoke of overused terms. The term that you guys will see from me that I get tired of hearing is servant leader. Because there is a lot more to being a servant leader, and it starts, Angelo, with what you just said as far as actually demonstrating it. I had a fire chief call me today because a buddy of mine, we have a consulting business together, and he's like, I just don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, go start back at one. How the organization is your people, and the people are the organization. So what are they saying? How do they truly feel about the service you're asking them to deliver? And they're the folks that the rubber meets the road. So start back at ground zero and work there.
So Mark, if I can just add a quick point there. One of the lines that I use all the time with my students is, if you have a leadership style, you're irrelevant to the majority of your people the majority of the time, because one style is only going to motivate a certain portion of the population and only at certain portions of the time. So I talk about effective leadership behaviors. And I talk about, well, when you're in a situation, you have to understand who the person is. You have to understand what the situation is, and then you have to employ the appropriate behavior for that person in that situation. And they're all variables. So I agree with you totally. I've had it up to here with
labeling leadership styles.
Well,
I just
we're going to have some fun. Let me cut you off for a second, Lisa. Angela, we got to connect. I think we should really have some fun next year.
So
with the topic.
if I could just throw in a quick one, Robbie. One of the things I always start off with is leadership development is a $364 billion a year industry, and ineffective and toxic leadership is the #1 issue worldwide across every sector. So how do you figure that one out?
I know.
Well, I think one of the things that you got to think about is the engagement of the workforce. The true measurement of leadership success is how engaged, satisfied, and productive the workforce is. And I think when, I'm a big servant leadership fan. I mean, and I think that you can have the foundation of service, of trying to give back, because we all took those leadership roles. And why did we take them? Because we thought we can make a difference. But then we were put in those roles because we had no training, but we showed up to work on time. We knew how to run a call. We knew how to deliver the highest quality of patient care. And then they went ahead and said, now go ahead and lead people. And we didn't know how to do that. And I think when you have a foundation of service to say, I want to make things better for them, and then you're able to engage, satisfy, they're going to produce. And I think that's how you're going to address it. But I think that's the missing component to true leadership. And leadership is a verb, it's not a noun, of showing your leadership every day.
But and a key part of that, I mean, I talk about that all the time, is engagement. And so, the way that I try to explain it sort of very quickly, and sorry, Robbie, for taking, is that, what is your most important organizational asset? Your people. Absolutely. What is your most valuable asset that you'll never get more of? Is your time. So the leadership formula is actually quite easy. You spend your most important asset with the organization's most important asset, to build the relationships, and then that leads to engagement.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And if I could just add one thing, Angelo, I think is really important. Your workforce is the only resource you have inside an organization that will increase in value. Everything else depreciates. Mm-hmm. We depreciate our apparatus, we depreciate our ambulances, we depreciate our monitors, but investing in our workforce, that is the only resource that will increase in value.
This is a great conversation. Each day of the EMS Leadership Summit, starting tomorrow, we are going to have a panel of these great speakers getting to dive deeper into these topics, talk about your sessions. In the meantime, we are going on to part 2 of the session. We've got a whole nother group of speakers coming in. And Mick, if you could hang on the line with us, because I know we'd never get a chance to
we just wanted
with you.
Because your presentation was also quite unique, I thought, in talking about using quality improvement as a form of engagement and retention, which I think is a whole different context that people aren't really thinking about or familiar with, and the level of engagement that's possible. So I'd like you to just touch on that as we kind of rotate some speakers in.
And I'd like to say, John, thanks again for joining us. We're looking forward to your presentation coming up on day number 2, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for the panel.
Great. Thank y'all. It's nice to be around such a great group of people. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Bryony.
Bryony, appreciate you being here. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Duncan, I jumped in a little bit early because I was on the 6:30 group.
Duncan, I hope we get to talk more on some innovations from Australia this week if you're going to be with us.
No worries. Happy to.
All right, we'll see you.
Bye.
All right, and let's see. We want to bring in
Mike.
Mike Touchstone.
We have Mike Touchstone. Hi, welcome, Mike. And Heather.
Heather Scherer coming from.
Oh, hello, Heather.
Hello, Mike, and hello, Ray.
I love when everybody knows each other. It's awesome.
I know, it's great.
Is that really where you live, or is that a background?
So Mick, right before we brought Heather, we'll go right to you guys in just a second. Mick was just going to talk a little bit about the quality improvement as a way to engage people.
Yeah, the quality management has been kind of my professional focus for most of my career after starting out in research. And so I've had a chance to work with a lot of different organizations over the years in trying to rethink their quality programs. And it kind of brought me to a place of starting over, if you will. There's the whole quality police stigma with quality programs, and in many organizations, very well deserved. So I wanted to try to rethink how the model works. And one of the things that I observed that so many organizations have as a rate limiting factor or a bottleneck, if you will, is bandwidth. You've got this one person who's typically assigned to be the quality manager. And by the time they go through complaints and gather data and make some very basic graphs about, organizational activities and some very, very basic performance metrics, if they're doing really well, they get to do performance metrics. There really isn't much time left over to do actual improvement projects. So I've been working on this different approach called the team-based quality model.
Mm-hmm.
And it tries to engage more of the frontline workforce in actually doing the projects. And there's several facets to it, but as you pointed out, Lisa, it provides potentially some answers to retention because it is a huge engagement for people. Part of the model is developing a new job description, which I call the EMS clinical specialist, similar to subspecialty work by physicians or clinical nurse specialists in nursing. Imagine, if you will, a cardiac EMS clinical specialist or a trauma clinical nurse or EMS specialist, resuscitation, etc. And these people are envisioned to be going through a lot of extra training in those particular areas through an experiential learning model rather than a university model. And also their general distribution courses, if you will be on topics like leadership and data visualization, analysis, etc. And by doing it in this manner, it starts to provide more of a career ladder for people in EMS to start getting engaged at more of a managerial level while they're still working on the street. And they can stay working on the street, but continue to grow professionally and build up their credentials, their legitimate growth and development, rather than just redundant continuing education, which, to me is a contradiction of terms. Anyway, that's what I'm going to be talking about with my session, is this model and how it, in addition to getting the quality improvement projects actually done, does something for recruitment and retention as well.
Yeah,
I think it's so interesting to use QA and QI as a vector or as a method for creating change in an organization. We've often talked about with David Daniels using safety as a framework for creating change, and I think it's such a great idea to use quality as a pathway to change as well.
Yeah, I'm taking a page out of the Ray Barashansky playbook here. I also want to see these people publish a heck of a lot, because that was one of the things that I really enjoyed watching Ray, was him starting to publish and really get his name and personal brand out there, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, but I think that really was a big contributor to your career development.
I couldn't correct you. You are totally not wrong. And I will give props to actually Nancy Perry from EMS Magazine, who really, in publishing my work, there were then other trade journals and other publications that became more interested in my work as well. And she really helped me develop into the voice that I became in EMS. Thanks, Mick. I appreciate the compliment. I'm kind of blushing here between what you said and what Chris said before.
And it's coming from the editor of the International Journal of Paramedicine, the new journal that's launching this month, Mick, correct?
Yeah, and in a couple of weeks, and my my managing editor is here too, Mike Touchstone.
Yeah, Mike, let's hear from you. Welcome. This is your first year with us at the EMS Leadership Summit. So welcome to the panel.
Well, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it was a great conversation, Mike.
I wanted to bounce off what Mick said too. You know, engaging the frontline personnel isn't a new concept, and it got lost. I mean, that's an idea that goes all the way back to Deming and Toyota, where the people that work, that do the work, that hold the tools, that know how the system works, are the source of your information as to why it's not working. The problem that you'll be faced with, or one of the problems, is what's in it for me, right? I know where I came from, the people in the street, A, didn't know how, and B, didn't have the time. So when you're working to keep trucks moving, how do you pull a guy off or a gal off the street to have them do other work? It's a dilemma that we have to figure out. The idea that it's a career move is pretty critical. I mean, I was a CQI officer that got pulled off the street and I didn't know anything. And the first time I met Mick was back when he was part of that journal. So I don't know if you want me to talk a little bit about the ideas behind wicked problems and design thinking and systems thinking.
Mike, I loved our conversations that we did record, and I'm looking forward to folks hearing more about it coming up on day 5 on Saturday. Because certainly, as you mentioned, these are issues around design thinking and these challenging problem-solving approaches that we've been trying to work on for years. And the literature goes back to the 80s that you brought up, and it's just fascinating.
And some of it all the way into the early 70s.
I love the title: Problem-Solving Struggles, Complexity, Messes, and Wickedness. That's a great title.
Well, wicked problems were first described in, I think, 1971 in a public policy journal by a couple of guys, Riddle and Weber. You can still find it out there. And there's a couple other articles you can find. Strategy is a wicked problem from Harvard Business Review. And when you read these articles, you start to see that we are like the poster children for wickedness. And the messes thing comes from an individual named Russell Akoff, who was at Wharton Business School. So that was his terminology. And he has a systems thinking approach, but also components of design thinking. But all of the solutions are related to having dialogue with stakeholders. And, back to what Mick said, if we're not talking to the frontline personnel, we're not going to get it right. But we also have to engage with stakeholders that are outside of our domain. So, you look at who's participating here, they're pretty much all EMS people. We need to talk to insurance guys. We need to talk to legislators. I mean, Ray, you were a regulator. We have to inform and educate the folks in the legislation, local, state, and federal. One day a year for, EMS on the Hill Day doesn't cut it. And in Pennsylvania, our legislators are talking about EMS in crisis. I mean, Heather, you've been around and dealing with the guys here in PA. They don't have a handle on, they don't even know what a crisis is, I don't think, because it's not new. We've been struggling for, I don't know, how long, Ray? 30 years?
At least.
Yeah. And Heather's been around a while too. So we have.
Thank you for not.
Hey, wait a minute.
30 years.
They were 9. They were 9 when the crisis started. That's
yeah, that could be. I mean, I was 17, right? So.
Well, we do have.
We do have a few speakers waiting in the wings here, so we do want to get to them. Angela, I want to thank you for joining us again. Look forward to talking to you later this week. I hope on one of the daily debriefs, and for folks to hear more about the language of leadership. And we're going to bring in some of our other guests on this half of the kickoff. So Richard Lazar. And Richard, thanks for joining us from the West Coast.
And we have and Sherry Houston is
joining in from
Canada. She's to our north. Hello, and welcome everyone. So, we're very, very excited about this being our 4th annual EMS Leadership Summit. And one of the things for me that was really essential when we were doing the planning months and months and months ago was talking about advocacy and talking about innovation and talking about inspiration, because it's easy to focus on what's wrong and to get caught up in that and then not get yourself out of those, that mindset. And, being in that innovative mindset is where creativity and true inspiration comes from, and solving problems. And that we're from a different place, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Not from the, oh my God, my hair's on fire, but more from, hey, what would be possible if, we thought about this differently? And so that's why, the group of speakers that we're really privileged to have on our panel this year have in common. Everyone is solution focused, facing forward, looking for what's next. So
absolutely. I mean, Richard, if you want to speak a little bit about your work on the West Coast and really nationally, a topic that we're talking about is really the AED laws that are out there. How do we inspire EMS leaders to take a more proactive approach to life safety? And I'm fascinated by the numbers that you shared with us in your presentation, and really. And I'm also at the same time not surprised at how kind of siloed and disjointed the different laws are around the topics.
Well, thanks. Richard Lazar here from Readiness Systems. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, Robbie and Lisa. This is quite an event you put on. The amount of marketing you do is quite remarkable as well. So anyway, yes. So if we look at the data, and I think this is what you're referring to, Robbie, we haven't made much of a dent in the out of hospital sudden cardiac arrest numbers in really 50 years. It's 50 years since CPR sort of came into being in kind of an organized way, and 30 years since the modern automated external defibrillator came out for public use. And yet we have an AED shortage. Less than 4% of sudden cardiac arrest people get public access AED used. Only about a third get CPR, bystander CPR. And, we all who've been in this business a long time scratch our heads and say, why? And, there's 2 reasons that I come up with. One is there's not enough people willing to help. And 2, there's not enough AEDs to get shocks to sudden cardiac arrest victims early enough. So what are some of the reasons for that? Well, the training model has some elements of it that can be fixed and scaled to the masses more, instead of trying to get perfection from lay bystanders who see this kind of thing once in their lives. And the other issue is that companies and organizations and people are afraid of lawyers. I'm an expert witness in a case. I was visiting some lawyers yesterday, in fact, and it's against a school that had AEDs, and the event didn't go as well as expected, and there's lawsuits. So the laws on the books today don't help. They actually create barriers. They impose burdens on organizations that have AEDs that have no benefits, and they don't provide meaningful Good Samaritan immunity. So in my talk, I talk about these issues and a model AED law that we developed that can address both of them, actually all 3 of them. 1, it eliminates the burdens imposed on AED owners. 2, it provides meaningful Good Samaritan immunity protection. And 3, it mandates AEDs in lots of places. If this law were enacted in lots of states, then we would see really an improvement. So it's one way I think that the needle can in fact be moved.
Yeah, and we so appreciate that. And folks can tune into your session on day 3 on the 22nd that'll premiere. And I'm really excited for people to learn more and to really raise awareness for, how they can advocate for their legislation in their states.
Absolutely.
And when we talk about advocacy, I mean, Heather, if you want to chime in a little bit about your amazing work with the Ambulance Association of Pennsylvania, I was so inspired. I'm sure many people watching this were very inspired by your grassroots efforts without any paid lobbyists, bringing $85 million of direct funding into EMS agencies in Pennsylvania. So congratulations on that big win.
Thank you. Thank you. It took a village. It took the whole state. And one of the things that we talk about is the grassroots efforts. And we don't have a lobbyist. And we have me. I'm the only staff person. And then we have 2 really active legislative committee chairs. And we do spend a lot of time, and Ray knows this, and Mike knows this too. We do spend a lot of time talking and educating. We don't use the term advocacy because I am not a lobbyist, but there's a quote about doing something over and over again, which you'll see in my presentation. And it does take that education. The legislative session is every 2 years, and you have change in the legislature. We are losing at least 44 of our legislators this year. We're losing a bunch of committee chairs. And so we have to educate all over again. So even though we were very successful, and we are all very grateful for that, but we're going to have to keep at it. You can't go quiet, because you have to stay out there. You have to continually educate, and you have to bring them kind of up to speed. If we're going to change things, then we need to educate them.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've been around this work with Robbie for 12, 13 years. I mean, and it's still shocking to me how much people don't know about the whole field and what anything. You see EMS and they're like, what is that? Again. So I mean, just that word education.
Know how to spell EMS.
I know, but the education is so critical. And anyway, I just really appreciate and honor what you've done, and thank you for being one of our presenters. And I'm really looking forward to people taking away, what can they do? Ideas and inspiration. And that's one of the main reasons that we wanted to do the summit 4 years ago, back when, Chris was young, Cebollero. Me too. But anyway, was because we wanted to democratize the information. We don't want this being in, little places where not everyone can go, but this free online event with 40 plus speakers from around the world, everybody gets a shot at listening, learning, taking one idea away. That's worth everything.
Lisa, can I jump in for 1 second?
Absolutely.
I think Heather vastly understated the role that she and her association played. So I want to be clear. I was a deputy secretary of health for 5.5 years. The first Friday I was in my job, Heather and I had lunch together. Okay. Heather knows who to speak to, how to speak to them, how to educate. I didn't say lobby, how to educate them. And that's in regard to areas like funding, recruitment and retention. She wasn't just doing that in the COVID era. She's been doing that all along. So if there's someone who's looking for a template about how to interact with your state health department, how to interact with your legislators, how to get it done, go to Heather Sherrar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ray. I'm also happy to talk to any of the other states or any providers who want some tips or how to wish somebody a happy birthday. I joke that that's always such a great thing, because we constantly say we need, we want, but just that little personal touch, happy birthday, just acknowledging somebody else exists other than to provide you with legislation or funding or whatever. I think that's very important, and it goes a long way.
And you are on day 4 of the schedule. So people can look forward to that. And I want to take a moment to bring Sherry into the conversation.
Talking about innovation, innovating and Sherry joining us from Canada, and they're certainly innovative when it comes to the operational stress of first responders and prioritizing the psychological health and safety of their people.
Yeah, Megan was with us for the first half. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this.
Yeah, thank you so much, Robbie and Lisa, and everybody here. The EMS Summit is just an amazing event. And so I'm the Chief Innovation Officer and Chief Operating Officer of Wayfield Mental Health Group, which is a national presence mental health provider in Canada, serving first responders, public safety personnel, and healthcare. And we have several innovative products that all are research backed and evidence based. And that's really our biggest differentiator, is helping organizations find services and products that have evidence, have research to back that what they're doing works. And so our before operational stress program has that. It's got 5 years of research published in journal articles about the program itself. And we're in a national clinical trial with it again now, with our online product as well. And so what I talk about, I also teach at Queen's University in the innovation and entrepreneurship space. And what I talk about in my presentation is, how do you know that what you are procuring, especially in the mental health space, is a product, a digital product? What are digital products? And how do you know that you're purchasing something for your organization that actually has and will have an impact? And so I give like 8 strategies of what to have within your procurement process around innovation. And the second half really talks about how innovation, employee engagement, and mental well-being, how the research ties those 3 things, are very closely linked and are very similar skills and practices that leaders need to do in order to improve in all 3 of those areas, and they're linked. So that's the second half, is all around how to create an innovative leadership corporate culture.
And Heather, your presentation's on day 3.
Sherry.
I'm sorry, Sherry. I knew that. Sherry, your presentation is on day 3, and I really would encourage people. I watched it. It was extraordinary. And there's a lot of products out there, as you said, that tout. They're easy they're apps, they're easy, they're this and that, but they're not tested. And that's really the thing that sets your organization apart. And we really appreciate your partnership this year and supporting us. And Megan was here earlier, and we thank her. I do want to just mention one thing, Chris. One of the things I really liked about your presentation this year was talking about breaking down silos. Yeah. And that was both silos within organizations, but speaking to what Mike was talking about earlier, was about crossing industries, right? And talking to other uniform services. And can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that plagues our organization is, we're very, very, I don't know if you know this, but EMS is a very egotistical business. And it seems that nobody wants to be able to take criticism of how they're doing their medicine, how they're doing running their organizations. And I got to tell you, I've been in positions where I've said, to folks, don't talk to my people that way, or if you don't like what we're doing, it's too bad. And, what was I really doing there is I was alienating my peers who are really helping me with the same vision from the organization to get where we want to be. And we think about it. Are there silos in EMS? No, of course there's not. We talk about clinical. We talk about operations. We talk about field. We talk about dispatch. So we have silos inside our organizations, and we can precipitate that, or we can allow that to happen, or we've got to be able to find the common ground that we could all walk the same walk towards the vision of success. And the vision is the most important. I believe it's the most important document inside an organization. So if we're all walking towards the vision and we're all developing the strategic goals to reach the vision, we've got to be able to work as one team. Now, whether the silos build because we help them build, or whether they build because people just want to keep their niche to themselves, we just got to find a way to communicate. We've got to find a way to be part of that team. One of the things that I did as a best practice as we were creating different policies inside a department, the clinical department specifically, is when I was in charge of the clinical services at MedStar in Fort Worth, Texas, is I would bring people from the dispatch center, and I would bring people from the medical director's office, and I would bring people from all around the organization to say, you know what? what's your experience in changing this process? What's your experience in developing these policies? They may not know specifically what we're doing clinically or what we're doing communication wise or what we're doing logistically, but you know what? They're leaders too. And they know the science of leadership. And I got to tell you, they appreciated it. And we were able to get some good work done as a team.
It's awesome, Chris. And I just have to say, nice shirt.
That's right, everybody. I
know, starting to. I know it's real controversial. Lisa,
that's right. That's right.
Yankee shirt, right?
Hey, Chris, I think you'll like this term. I mean, I use it more in a context of communicating with groups outside of EMS, but what you've described fits this as well. And I call it intellectual inbreeding. You know, you're in your silo. Dispatchers only talk to dispatchers, et cetera, et cetera. But the term fits this too.
No, I agree. But one of the things that I think we have to remember, and I'm not going to be on this soapbox long, everybody, is that, you know, I believe the most important document inside an organization is the vision statement. We have to know where we are going, and we have to be able to know how we're going to get there. And it's not one person that does it. It's not one department that does it. We do it as a team.
Absolutely.
One of the best experiences that I had, a high point experience, was bringing together current and future leaders in the same room, talking about what do they want the future to look like if anything were possible. You had a magic wand, anything were possible, unlimited budget. What would that future look like 5 years from now? And people get unlocked from their constraints and what they thought was possible. And that's where I think the magic happens. People will have the most compelling, you know, vision of the future, and it just draws people in. And I love that you said you're talking, going back to, again, the vision.
Yeah. And one thing,
throw a monkey wrench at Chris. We have to start before the vision. We have to start with understanding values. And when people are in an organization where, say, my values and your values are different, the organizational values are different, you're going to run into conflict and you won't be able to create a unified vision. If it's not on a common, converged set of personal and organizational values, you're going to have dysfunction no matter what your vision is. Yep. So we don't spend enough time as individuals or as organizations, not only articulating a vision, but also ensuring and supporting people living that vision and demonstrating that vision, which is a critical part of being a leader, right, Chris?
I think you're absolutely right, Mike. Yeah.
And back to what Marcus said about demonstrating leadership, not talking about it, but demonstrating it, right, Marcus? As we're sort of coming to the end of our time, I just want to mention, Ray, your presentation is kicking us off tomorrow. You're our first presenter, and you're talking about pandemics are a team sport. So it kind of brings everything we're talking about together, you know, and the vital role that EMS plays in public health emergencies. And, you know, I just think that, you know, we had to start with that because it's like
where we've come from, and you laid out where we've come from for sure, and you know what the future may hold.
I think that when we look at all of the past emergencies that EMS has had to respond to as a critical component of the public health response, so when we're looking at emergencies like SARS, H1N1, Ebola, when we're looking even right now at COVID, we really have to address everything that EMS did as a critical component. I would also say that this is the moment I often refer back to something I say to EMS leaders all over, which is, do you speak public health? And this is your moment right now, whether it's in regard to the relationship, whether it's in regard to funding, whether it's in regard to training and exercises, this is your moment. Seize it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. We want to just draw everybody's attention again to the virtual exhibit hall, because this is how you're going to be able to access the 40 plus speakers every day this week. So as just like a regular in-person conference, we created, and by we, I mean Robbie, created an extraordinary opportunity to learn about the sponsors. Every presentation is available through booth 1. So if you have a free pass, you just click on that. If you want to upgrade to the all access pass, or if you already have, then that's you get there. And then you can download a copy of what we call the playbook, which is the PDF of the sessions and speakers. So you can plan out how you want to get the most out of the
every session, every date for the next 6 days is going to be on that playbook. So, and as you can see here, if you click on any booths, we've got the Citizen CPR Foundation and the Resuscitation Academy coming together for a joint panel discussion and resources that you can download, that you can access, the 10 steps to improving survival from sudden cardiac arrest. So it was really great to have those 2 organizations co-brand and come together for a great conversation. As we've already talked about with the Wayfield group, make sure you enter for the grand prize drawing at the bottom here. We're going to draw names on a virtual spin to win wheel. Everybody loves a good wheel. We're going to do that on Saturday, but make sure your name is in there for that. We've got, the folks from CAMS, the Commission on the Accreditation of Medical Transport Systems, with a booth talking all about mobile integrated health and the first program standards that have emerged this year. And we've got Dr. Victoria Reinhartz, who is on the panel with CAMS, developing that with a whole group of experts. So lots to see and hear. Our friends over at Ninth Brain coming up with unified solutions for everything from quality management, risk management, scheduling, and Tim can be contacted right here at that booth. So please check those booths out. We've got our friends over at FirstNet by AT&T in the United States, the FirstNet Authority, operated by AT&T. You can see we've got some rapid deployables here for the summit as well. We're bringing the blimp in. So thank you to them.
Won't see that at an in-person conference.
Well, you might.
Oh, all right, maybe. Excuse me. Rick Binder Lift.
Anybody that's gotten their hands on one of these lift devices, he set up a free field trial for anybody that wants to request one of these units. It's amazing to watch the look on people's faces when they realize they never have to pick up under somebody's dirty armpits again. And you've got over 30 handles. It's comfortable for the patient. I'm a huge fan of this when I saw it actually work and people start to rave about it. So Rick Binder, we want to thank him for that. And if you're interested in setting up a free field trial, they will ship you one and help you out there. So, we've got so many. Thank you to Martin Fire Rescue TV, who's live streaming this kickoff and every session. He's helping us reach over 200,000 followers across social, over 400 EMS and fire stations every day with our daily debrief, our panel of speakers this week. So I know I'm forgetting some folks. Newton 360. We want to thank Scott Moore and his company for his work in Newton 360, Responder Safety Institute. We've got
this is amazing.
And Dr. Candace was going to be doing a presentation this week, and she has recorded, and they put together a whole landing page here on their booth of resources. This list must be 10 pages long from every part of EMS organizations, from your field training staff, from your leadership, from your frontline supervisors, what they can do to make operating on the roadway safer. And they have accredited programs and CME credits for their free programs, respondersafety.com, the Emergency Responder Safety Institute. We appreciate Jack and Candace for putting those resources together. So be sure to check them out. So,
and we have to mention Wendy Lund, our buddy at Wealth Management. Wendy is a frequent speaker. I believe she has been at every single summit we have done. And her Reach for Resiliency program is award-winning, I believe.
And her background as a nurse educator for 30 years teaching paramedics in Canada. And then after she retired, quote unquote, she went to get a master's degree in mindfulness studies and loves to bring the research of mindfulness for first responders as well. So it's great to see some shared passions here across the board between Wayfield, between Wealth Management, that's WELL, Wealth Management for wellness.
I think we got them all.
All right.
Make sure as you're going in to check out the sessions that you also check out the booths. And we should do our big announcement for our Friday lunch and learn
Absolutely.
that Robbie and I are doing. So who doesn't like a free lunch, right? So on Friday, we are hosting a lunch and learn. So we will be doing one of our programs, an hour dive actually into the foundation for effective leadership is communication. And we'll be talking about some of the ways in which you can be more effective as a leader and creating a foundation of communication and relationships. And for the first 100 people who register and attend, you will receive a
Grubhub gift voucher. And so we're happy to provide lunch or breakfast, wherever you're joining in from.
That's right.
For folks that join in talking about this important topic.
Yeah, so you can register there, right there in our booth. So,
all right, is that it for...
So we want to just revisit our wonderful speakers. And again, we are so privileged to have, I love Murderer's Row. Who called it that? Was that you, Chris? But I just love that, so many people have reached out to us and said, hey, we want to be a part of this. I mean, the first year it was like, what are you doing? Not Chris. He jumped right on board. David Daniels, he jumped right on board.
Yeah, Wendy was on there with us.
That's right.
The rest has been history. Over 12,000 people reached in the last 3 years. This will be the 4th year. So far, before sessions have even launched, we're at over 2,000 registered folks. Last year, we had people attending from 44 countries around the world. So we're really happy to, again, we said it before, help democratize this information, bring it to the folks that, can't afford to get away from their job, their family, they can't afford the travel or just the time commitment to a large national conference. And you still get some great connections here and some phenomenal A-lister content here with this crew.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we wrap up, is there anything anyone would like to say to our viewers and to each other? And
it's good to see all you guys and gals. And I really believe you guys, Robbie and Lisa, you're cutting edge here because people can't go to conferences and everybody anywhere can attend this.
Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to add before I realized how the mute button works was, this is a great free event. And you listen to some of the stories that you're going to hear and some of the great lessons that you're going to get. But one of the things that you can do is, it was really kind of glossed over here, you could actually upgrade and buy this package, and you can watch these videos throughout the year, or you can have them available for your workforce throughout the year. So, and it's not a big cost to that as well. So even though I'm going to be speaking, I watch almost every single event. Well, I watch Ray's, but that's, everybody knows that. But, I watch almost every single event, but then I also buy the package because I share it with my workforce throughout the year as we're going forward. So, remember that that's an option as well.
Absolutely. We can upgrade for your all access pass. You get lifetime access to all the speaker sessions. We've added some bonuses with MP3s if you just want to listen to the audios, and you develop your leadership library. So we get CAPC approved CME credits as well.
Thanks for doing this.
Yes, thank you.
Well, folks, I want to thank you for being here. I don't know if we have anything else in closing.
No, that hour went by very fast. I feel like I want to talk to each one of you longer, but we do appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for the daily debrief on the day that your presentation is scheduled. So every day of the conference of the summit at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we will have a live daily debrief. And it will be the presenters from that day. So I just want to mention that tomorrow we start with Ray Verashansky. Paramedics are a team sport. Then Wendy Lund is after that. She's talking about COVID-19 and mental health. Shift happens. Had to be careful how I said that one. Chris Cebollero, breaking down the silos that plague organizational success. Leon Baranowski and Jenny Helmer about the British Columbia EHS and advancing clinical practice. Marcus Bush, you are on tomorrow talking about demonstrative leadership. Asbel Montez, who couldn't unfortunately join us tonight, but he is planning us to be at the live daily debrief tomorrow. He's going to be talking about a lesson in advocacy. And then Dr. Victoria Reinhardt's transformation, accreditation, elevation, and mobile integrated health. And folks, that's day one. So every day we have 7 or 8 presentations because we have over 40 speakers this year.
All right, folks. Well, I want to thank our speakers for joining us today on this kickoff. We so appreciate you, your time, your energy, your efforts, and your experiences that you brought to the table. So thanks again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you throughout the rest of the week. And folks, make sure, if you haven't already, grab your free pass at least, emsleadershipsummit.com. Sign up for your free pass, and we will see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See you
Thanks
tomorrow.
Bye.
All right. Lisa, this is great. We have so many great speakers, and I am excited about this week. You know, this has been a long road. The COVID pandemic's been a long road for everyone. You know, the 2 years has felt like 20 years for many people.
At least.
And we hope that you're able to at least attend some of these sessions. If you can't purchase the All Access Pass to have that leadership library as a tool, please check out our great sponsors here at the Virtual Exhibitor Hall. You know, throughout the week, this hall is going to be changing, so be on the lookout. Each one of these booths are interactive. You can watch different videos, check out the Honorable But Broken EMS and Crisis documentary film. We've had the film producers here. Really, this is a great national tool that is going to benefit the whole industry. And so we can't wait for folks to, you know, experience this week and to recharge.
Yeah. And again, I would highly recommend people download the PDF.
Yep.
Not only is the schedule in there and the description of the sessions, but the other thing that's in there is articles. Many of our presenters volunteered to provide an article. So, you know, that's added value, right? Just to be able to learn from people. And one of the reasons we do the daily debrief is so that if you do watch a session and you have a question, you'll have the opportunity to ask those questions during our debrief because we're live, and you can type in your questions on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you're joining us from. And we would just love to hear from you. And it's also an opportunity to share insights that you've had or aha moments from listening to some of our presenters. I can tell you, I've been a presenter for over 25 years, and I know I started when I was 9. But anyway, as a presenter, there's nothing better than hearing from somebody who saw your presentation and said, wow, I really got something out of that. And I learned so much. And so if you are so inclined, please do acknowledge our presenters and the content that they are so generously producing for
Give
free.
a shout out on social media. Make sure you tag them across social. So folks, again, this is all available in the Virtual Exhibitor Hall. We hope you'll check it out. Be on the lookout. There's an email coming out in the morning. That's when day number 1 starts. 24 hours to access all those speaker sessions on day number 1.
Yeah, and to answer a question in the chat, you have 24 hours to watch the sessions if you're a free pass holder. So they get released at 8 a.m. You'll have till 8 a.m. the next day. So hopefully you'll be able to see as many as you want. If you want lifetime access, there is an upgrade option for as little as $67.
One-time fee.
You get lifetime access. And as we already said, through meta credits, you get the CAPC approved CMA credits. So, I mean, it's a bargain for $67 to get 15 CME credits. So again, let's just thank our sponsors. We could not provide this for free without them, and we just want to acknowledge them. So again, go to the booths. Many are offering free things, reduced prices, and how much fun is it that we have a drawing? This is our first year having a spin the wheel.
Yep, on Saturday. So make sure you enter on booth number 9 in the Wayfield booth.
Lucky number 9.
Go to the bottom and enter in your information to be entered into the drawing, grand prize drawing this week, a couple prizes. So I want to thank everyone. All right, we will see you tomorrow at our next daily debrief.
Yeah, and if you have any challenges at all, just email us at support. Thank you. Support at emsleadershipacademy.com. And we will be supporting people if there's any questions or anything like that all week.
All right, folks.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.